Hello and welcome to the Blender tutorial brought to you by the Luwizart. My name is Emmanuel Okafo, and this will be a continuation of my previous video, which was building your own character rig from scratch. So if you've not watched that, you can go ahead and check it. It's the previous video before this one on this channel. So in this video, we're focusing mainly on creating the facial rig to finalize this character. So before I jump right into the facial rig tutorial, I want us to look at some certain things which will be useful to us in the process of this video. So by the way, if you're not subscribed yet, subscribe to this channel for awesome content and check out my videos. There are a lot of help stuff that you might need. And yeah, so this is what I want us to look at before we jump into the tutorial. So if I play back this animation, we can see we are trying to get similar type of action whereby we have just some vertex pulling this direction. Okay, but what's happening here is we are trying to get to a certain point. We are trying to get to one point using different method. So this method is deforming the geometry with shape keys to get the similar effect, which is giving us this. But what you notice is it's not really dynamic. It feels like morphing, and it's so obvious that it's morphing. Okay, then the second one is just using one single bone and animating it to get this kind of same effect. So it's okay, but it feels a bit rigid and it doesn't look so appealing. And then we have this one. This is using bone in conjunction with constraint, so it's giving it a certain effect. It feels more natural and it's pulling everything feels connected, and this is the kind of deformation you want to be going forward, whereby when you're moving certain part of geometry, it feels connected. That's basically the stuff you want to bear in mind anytime you're trying to create your character face or a face rig. You want it to feel connected. So just using just a deformer bone can get the job, but most of the times you will not get the desirable results by the end. That's where shape keys plus deformers and also constraint comes in. So with this, you can see that this is using same action. This is the same result from this, but with shape keys we can even push it further to fit our need, and everything together brings about to a very nice looking animation. So with bearing this in mind, we'll be jumping right into the main tutorial. So when working with face, like I said earlier, you want it to feel connected. So you don't want to just use shape keys to create the face rig. If you do that, you will notice that no matter how good the animation is, it's always going to feel stiff and robotic. So that's why the method we'll be using today is a method using deformation of weight paint in conjunction with constraint to be able to drive the face to move in unison. Okay, so now we'll just to start, let's clean up the same. So we have the basic rig that we created in the previous video, which looks nice, but we don't need to see it because it's going to distract us from what we want. So the only bone we want for now is the head bone, so I'm just going to select this and move this to the second layer. So this is the amateur layer, in case you're not familiar with that. I will just go ahead and turn my screencast key so you guys can follow along. And I think this theme is a bit distracting. Let me just change it back to the default one. Okay, so working with this theme. Yeah, so we'll just go to the layer where we have our head bone and we start working. So what do we have here for the face? Well, if I can hide the head, so we have the eye, which is already rigged and working, and what we have left is the mouth and the tongue. So we need to rig this too. So anytime I want to go about rigging the face, the stuff I usually prefer to start with is the jaw movement. So once I prefer to build up from the jaw. So to create a jaw, I will just go into the edit mode of the bone, keep the cursor around here, and we'll just add a single bone. So now we'll just place the bone roughly around here and somewhere. Okay, And now, since we already binded the armature to this character already, it's crazy to like clear everything and rebind it. So the only way we can apply weight to this is to actually paint it in manually. Don't worry, it's not really tedious, it's quite straightforward. So for the jaw bone, we're going to parent it to the head bone so that it move in unison, something like this. Okay, now, so if you select your armature, then you select the object, you can switch um, object mode. So we're going to go to the weight paint and try to paint in stuff. So for the lower jaw, I just okay. So for the lower jaw, we want this bone to affect the lower part of the mouth. So to do that, we'll just have to paint it. But right now, it's going to be quite hard to do that. So the way I think that will work better to do the way I think will be more efficient and effective is to add shape key. Okay, and inside edit mode, we'll turn on the proportional edit and click on connected only, and we'll just turn it on. We'll just grab one point and just move this down, so it doesn't really have to be perfect. All we need is to be able to separate these two, separate the top lip from the lower lip. So once we have done that, now we can go back to the weight paint, and I'm going to switch to single color and just increase it to white color. So I don't know, the flicker we're getting, I think it's a bug or something with Blender 2.83, which I'm using, but hopefully it should not really affect the entire process. You can just ignore it if okay. So what we want to do now is, since we have our shape key, we can be able to separate it and easily go into edit mode, and having this bone selected, we can just switch our selection type to lasso. We can just draw around here and we'll hit assign. So now it's going to assign weight to this group, and we can go ahead and delete this. Okay, so now we have the lower jaw weight painted, and we just need to clean it up. So selecting the draw brush, I'm going to set the weight to 0 and the strength to 1, and I'm going to turn on symmetry. So you can use symmetry in weight paint, but I advise, if you have not named the bones correctly, like underscore L and R, when you're dealing with bones that are opposite, like when you're dealing with bones that have both right and left, you don't want to use symmetry. But since we have just a single bone, it's a perfect candidate for using symmetry. So I'm just gonna, with the weight set to 0, I'm just gonna clean areas that we don't want to be affected. Okay, so now we can rotate this and it's working. But right now we're not getting the full range. That's because if we select the head bone, you can see it's influencing this section, and we don't want this the head to influence this lower lip section. So to fix that, if we go into the edit mode, hopefully we still have our selections for the lower lip. We can just select the head and remove that. So now you can see we're getting the full range for the lower lips. Okay, so now we can just get the blur brush and just clean things up slightly, and we can also blend from the head too, because you don't want it to like feel really harsh. You can also set the weight to 1 and reduce the strength to get stuff like this. So you just want to create like a very nice smooth transition so it feels natural. Okay, so it's not perfect, but we can keep moving on. Which is, of course, you want to spend time to make it even more perfect. Okay, so we have the lower lip working. So for animation purposes, you don't want to always go in and just try to rotate this. Always, you want to just select a bone and just move this up and down automatically. So to do that, we're just gonna extrude a bone here. Alt B, we clear the parent, and we can move it out and we can go to the bone section and uncheck the deform button, because we don't want this to deform any geometry. We just want it as a controller. Okay, so now selecting this bone, we shift select this jawbone and do Control Shift C. This is going to bring out the constraint menu, and we're going to select inverse kinematics. So you could also access the inverse kinematics constraint by just using Shift I. It's going to add that same way, just different method. Okay, so once we've added that, we'll go to chainlet and set it to 1. In my previous video, I explained why you need to I explained when and how you need to use the chain length. So it's quite straightforward. Once you need the IK to affect one single bone, you set it to 1. If you need it to affect more than 1, then you increase it. Okay, so we can see it's working. We can just move this up and down, and it's going to control the movement of the jaw. Okay, so we can move this down slightly upwards. Okay. So for the next, let's do like showing motion, because you want another control to control the mouth movement when it's closed. You want to be able to control everything. So to do that, we're just gonna add another bone, so we can duplicate this and do Shift H, so we can hide every other thing, and we can just move this upwards and we can unhide everything. So this bone is going to affect the top mouth, so we can just clear everything. So we need to remove the constraint from this one. Okay, so we can open the mouth now, and then for this bone we'll add a weight paint. So selecting this, you just want to click and it's going to create a new vertex group. So if you have it set so this pinkish color, that means it doesn't have a vertex group yet. So you need to create a vertex group by just clicking on it with any brush. Okay, so for the top lips, like we did for the previous for the lower lips, we just box using the lasso, so we can just select that area. Doesn't really have to be perfect, and we'll just select this, and in the vertex group we can hit assign, and we'll just go ahead and selecting the head, we'll do remove. Okay, so now we can get the blur brush and just blur it up. Though of course the top mouth part doesn't really move in animation. This is just to create a controller for the entire lips. That's the only real purpose of this. So we'll just also blur this so it feels nice. Okay, so it's working now, and same drill, will create another IK for this, and we can uncheck the deform, and now we can add an inverse kinematics and chain. Okay, so this is going to control the top lips. So we want this to be able to control the chewing motion. So for that, we just parent this to this, Ctrl P. So now if we move this, we can see we're controlling the entire chewing motion. Okay, so in a case whereby you want your rig to be able to scale in or scale out the mouth, you could just add an extra bone. Okay, and you can parent this to this. Okay, and now you can scale if we put it in the right position where you want it to scale from. Now you can scale in the mouth if you really need it, or even move the mouth around. Well, we don't need it for this rig. We're going for a semi-realistic rig, so just undo all of that. Okay, so for this is gonna be parented to the head. So it already is. So the parenting of the down lip is these two bones. including this, is going to be parented to the head. Okay, then this is the only one that is going to be parented to this guy. Okay, so that's that with the lower lips. So let's try to apply this effect to the teeth. So for that, there are two ways you can go about creating your teeth. So in some instance, you want to be able to have control over your teeth, and that's what we want to go for. That we want to have a setup whereby we can be able to control the position of the teeth. Okay, so to do that, we'll just hide the head rig, the head mesh, and here we can extrude a bone. So we'll clear the parent and duplicate. We can duplicate this. So we can duplicate this now, and this is going to be the controller for the top lips and for the lower lips. So this two can be parented to the head bone. Okay, so now what we want to do is to select the teeth mesh and select the bone and do Ctrl P with empty groups because we want to paint it in manually. Okay, now so let's go into the weight paint. So here we want to be we can. I was doing some experiment earlier, that's why you get most of the times you just get some weight paint appearing. But okay, so we want to weight paint this lower lips to control the lower part of the lips and appropriately respectively the top part of the teeth. Okay, so to do that, let's go into the edit mode and unhide the lower teeth. So this is going to be the so you just want to select the lower teeth and probably hide it, and then you can select the lower part of the mouth and do assign, and it's going to assign it. Okay, and now you can unhide the teeth and also assign it to this bone. So this is what we have. So we can select this and do select and Ctrl I to invert the selection, and now we can select this bone and do assign. So we can grow the selection, make sure we have everything selected. Okay, so we can hit assign. So now this is going to control the top teeth and this is going to control the lower teeth. So we can go ahead and unhide this. So now if we open the mouth, so we want this bone to follow this. So to do that, we can, let's hide this for now. So we can select this and we can select this, shift select this and do Ctrl Shift C, and we'll do copy rotation. And we can go to the Constraint tab and do add, so that we can be able to still play with the rotation. So also do local space with local space. Now if we move this, it's not moving the right way. So a quick fix to that is just select this bone, shift select this and do Shift N and do active bone. And now if you move this, it should work. We could invert the selection. You know what? Instead of that, instead of copy rotation, we can just parent this lower teeth to the jaw. It's more straightforward. And if you need to play with assess it, you can easily either move the lower teeth. But for this, for sure, you just want to parent it. Maybe also to this too. Let's see if we unhide. So we can open the mouth and we can move the teeth into place, and this we control everything. Okay, so it's quite straightforward. So the top will be parented to the top and the lower is going to be parented to the lower. So The reason I wanted to do it the other way or use constraint is because I was practicing this for a while, and I it worked for the previous one. So, but this is quite straightforward, and yeah, it works too. So we are done with the jaw. So we have it working. We have a controller for opening the mouth, and we can control the placement of the teeth, scale it, and do everything we want. Okay, and we can also get like nice chewing motion. Okay, so now that's that for the jaw. We're going to proceed now to the rest of the face. So what I showed you in the beginning of this video is going to come in handy now. So as I said earlier, to get a very nice facial motion, you want a combination of both deforming just the main surface of the mesh in conjunction with constraint. So that's what we're using for the face now. So we'll be creating like a constraint that's going to make the face feel more connected. So for that, let's just go to another bone layer so we have a neat slate to work with. So what we want to do now is let's start with the mouth. So for the mouth, we can go ahead and add a bone. Okay, and we can turn on the snap to feature, set it to face, and project onto self. So we can just leave all of that. So it's going to just project onto the surface of the mouth, and now we can also just duplicate this. Okay, so you want something like this. I'm going to like spend time to explain the mouth, and then I will do the eyes. Then for the rest of the face, I don't want to really waste your time. I may go into time-lapse mode, but let's focus on the face, on the lips now. So we are done. We have just placed the bones the one we want. So we can do Shift N to recalculate the roll, and we'll select global Y axis. Okay, so now all these bones I've added now, they are not going to be deformed as bone. These bones I just added are just going to be controllers. So the main thing that's going to be deforming the lips are this bone. So I'm going to select this and shift select this and hit F. So these bones are what is going to be deforming the lips. So let's repeat that. F. Okay, so now just the placement is not really necessary, or it's okay. You could spend time really adjusting it, but it's fine. Okay, so like I said, the bones that are going to be deforming the lips are these bones, which will be applying a constraint to make it feel connected. So therefore we can go ahead and select all these controller bones and go down to this bone section, and holding down Alt we can uncheck the deform. So now this is not going to deform the mesh, but this are what going to deform the mesh. Okay, so the constraint we'll be using to make the face feel more connected is called the stretch constraint. So the way it works is the bone, you can see that this for example, if we unhide this is the roots of the bone, and this is the tip of the bone. Okay, so we can unhide everything. So the roots, if you see two roots facing each other, that means that this is meant to be parented to this. Of course you have to be in edit mode. So it means this has to be parented to this. Okay, then if you see the tip touching that sounded dirty. So if you see the tip touching the root, okay, then you have to apply the stretch constraint to it. So here we'll just do Control Shift C to bring out the add constraints. Then we'll do stretch to. Okay, so root for root, tip for root is the constraint. Okay, so as we did earlier, root for root, we're going to parent it, and then root for tip is going to be the constraint. So that's just basic stuff going on here. So you want to go and make sure it's up working, everything is set up well. So this is what we have. Now we can grab this and just create this kind of nice connected effect. Okay, so we can just mirror everything we've created now. So we can select everything and switch the the pivot points to 3D cursor, and then you want to make sure you're in the global setting. And now we can duplicate this, rotate scale x -1, so it's going to flip it to the other side. So I made a mistake. So you want to uncheck all the middle objects. You just want to only select the ones that you need to flip, and we can repeat that. Rotate scale x -1. Okay, so just move this slightly. So we have flipped it, and it should be working like this. So right now we have this messed up. So you want to make sure that the bone is set to its default position. Like you can see, this is the default position of the bone, but here you can see it's a bit distorted. So you don't want to work with this. So you want to go ahead and clear that constraint and repeat the operation. So we do stretch to, and it should be perfect. Okay, so we basically have everything set up for the lips, and let's go ahead and weight paint it. So for the weight painting, by the way, if you for the parenting of the CGS parents, we'll discuss that later. So for the weight painting, what you want to do is select, you know the drill, you go into weight paint mode, and you want to select this lower lips. But before we do that, let's just show the jaw, because we need the jaw in this instance to make our life easier. So for the parenting, we can just parent. Let's just open the jaw for now. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so something like this. Okay, and we can just hide this for now. So for the weight painting, you want to select this and turn off your X symmetry, and we'll switch to draw. Strength set to 1, and now you want to just click on it. So you can isolate everything. So what will even help you see better, if you go to the view and the focal length, you can reduce it to 30, so you can have more perspective to play with. So you can just add it. Okay, and we can repeat it for here. Okay, we do the same thing. Right now we just do the first pass, and later we can go ahead and clean it up. So we repeat it for this set bone. Also for this one. Okay, so we're done with that. and we can clear everything. Okay, so now this control 1, 2, 3 are going to be parented to the jaws, the lower jaw. So keep offset. Okay, and then 1, 2, 3 going to be parented to this. Okay, and probably this stuff is also going to be parented to this. Okay, now what we have is if we move the jaw, it moves in unison, and we have control for this. And you can go ahead and play with the weight paint to even make it cleaner. So I can see we have some crazy guy going on here, so we can fix that. So selecting the right bone, we can just clear there. Okay, so let's just try to clean it up, and then we can move on to the eyes. So if we raise this, are we getting enough room? Let's do the side lip first. So we're going to move this, and then we can either use the draw brush to add more influence there, and then just blow it out so it feels smooth. So now we can get like nice smile. Okay, and we can repeat it for this section. We'll use the draw, we add. And with the blur brush, we just clean it up. Okay. So you have like full control for everything going on. Yeah. So for this, we can grab it down, and we can just add more influence to this, and just blend everything with the blur brush. And we can repeat it for this section. So we can blur this to make it feel more natural. Okay, so that's that for the lips, and we can proceed from here. So we'll be moving on to the eyes now. Okay, so it's not perfect, but we can keep moving. Okay, so now for the eyes, what we want to do is just we can duplicate this and just place it here, and we'll create one for the upper lids. For this, we would not be doing like lots of controls for the eyes like we did for the lips. I just find to make it simple, but you can add extra controls if it's necessary for you to get those kind of squishy and fleshy animations. But just these two are enough to get the ball rolling, and we will not be even adding this constraint. We'll just be using basic deformation. So I'm just going to show you how it works. So selecting these two bones, I want to go ahead and holding down Alt, I'm going to click on deform. By the way, sorry about the dog barking, it's quite late here, so maybe someone is passing by and the dogs are barking, and they're not my dogs. Okay, so we can also clear the parents. So for the eyes, to do that, we'll just same drill, go into weight paint, select one section, just clear everything. So what we want to do is I want to select the head first of all, because I want to clear the effect of the head on the eye section. So I'm just going to symmetry turn on, just going to remove the influence of the head bone around the eyes so we can get the full control or full effect. Okay, and now we can select this and just grab the draw brush, set it to 1, and you just want to click on one spot like this. Okay, and you just drag it down, and next you just click on you can grab the blur brush and just blur it. Okay, and you see it is going to look, it's gonna work. Okay, so same thing for this. We grab the draw brush, just click on this section. Okay, and we can grab it up, and we'll just grab the blur and just blur it. And now we can create the blink, so you can even increase the influence like this. So that's how you can just quickly weight paint the eyes. So moreover, so this is how it works. So I forgot to turn off the symmetry, so we can just select half of this and clean it up. Okay, so we have this working. So we can repeat that quickly by duplicating this and just moving it. By the way, for the eyes, you just need to select them and parent it to the head. Okay, so for this, like we did earlier, grab the draw, click on it till it can turn a bit red, and you can now move it down slightly. Grab the blur and just click on it to blend everything. Okay, and now we can need to clear all of this. Okay, so for this, we'll grab this up. Sorry, we'll first click on it till you can see a red spot, and we can grab this up, and then we can blur it out. Okay, so that's that for the eyes, and we can see it's working. So if you're getting corners you don't like, you can just probably use the smear brush and just move it out slightly. And we can just blur it a bit more. Okay, so that's that. You can spend even longer time to make it perfect, but we need to keep moving. Okay, so if we move this, let's make sure everything is parented rightly. So this is parented to this, keep offset. This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the rest controllers are parented to the top lips, and that should control the entire head. So for sections that are not moving, that means they are lacking parent, so we can fix that. So these two are meant to be parented. Yeah, so you remember what I said, root for root and tip for root. So that really sounds weird. So let's check if there's anyone lacking. So this parented to this, parented to this. Okay, so it should work. What's happening? Finally, come on, man. Yeah. So, okay, one more, guys. And yeah, we've done that. So I forgot to rig the tongue. We might skip it. It's just same process. You add a bone there and parent it to the tongue, to the lower lips. So yeah, we have the basic settings for the head. Going now, we have the eyes. So for the parts, this is going to be the fun part. This is where we're going to really bring the skin or the face together. So for that, we'll just duplicate this. Okay, just place it. Place one here and place one for the eyebrows. Place one here. So same drill, we'll hit F, hit F, hit F. Okay, so this is going to be parented to this. So seems like they're all okay. Parented to this. This is going to be parented to this, and we can apply the constraint. This is going to be the stretch to constraint, and it's working. So let's see if we still. The reason for all this error is because I have worked on this model before. Like this is not the first time I'm rigging this face, so that's why we can see those weight paint. But you should not see that in yours, definitely. Okay, so we have the eyebrows and this middle controller. So we can just this is the final one I'm going to show you guys. I'm just going to rig this one now, and then we can move into the time-lapse process, whereby I'm gonna fix everything. So I am gonna duplicate, flip it now. So what I want to flip, just this one, except the middle bone, and we set it to 3D cursor to be the pivot, and make sure you're set to the global rotation. And okay, so Shift D, and we need to turn off the snap tool. So rotate scale X -1. Okay, and okay, so we can move this to be in the right position. So at this point we would need to clear this and reapply the stretch constraint. Okay, so we have it set up. So let's connect everything. Well, let's apply the weight paint. So let's make sure we have the deformer turned on. Okay, so now what we want to do is in the weight paint, just paint it appropriately now. So here we'll just paint in this and paint this in, paint this in, paint this in. So this is just the first part. We'll play with it and make sure it feels natural. Okay, so oh boy, I will just select all these bones to make sure they're not influencing anything. Okay, so now if we move this, we can see we're getting like nice smooth controls for the eyebrows. We can still play with the weight paint to even make it more awesome, which we could do. So let's jump right into it. So if I'm to move this upwards, let's see, we need to improve stuff, so we can just reduce the strength slightly, and then we can blur it. Okay, so by the way, you want to like remove every influence of it close to the eyes, because you don't want it to influence this area, so you don't mess your expressions. Okay, so it's all working. So for the parenting, these two are going to be parented to this. So we have one eyebrow controls, then the rest will be used as tweakers. So this, then the two main eyebrow control are going to be parented to the middle one. So this bone is going to control this. I know the weight paint is not perfect, but we could fix that. And this is going to control this eyebrow. So you also want to use you want to remove the influence of the head bone around the section to make it feel more natural. Okay, so I think you guys have understood the basic, and now let's go into time-lapse mode. Okay, so I am kind of done. I did not go ahead. I didn't end up finishing the whole stuff. It was taking a lot of time, but I just wanted to pass the idea forward. But with what I've created now, we can be able to see what's happening here. So I've gone ahead and I'll just hide this deformer bones and move it to another layer. So what we have left are just the controllers. So for example, now if I'm to grab this mouth, we can see how smooth and connected it's feeling, and you even have extra control for some skin. As you can see, it feels like really connected using the constraint, and if I should bring it up, we can see what's happening. This is how it looks. Remove this, you see it's connected. So that's basically how to set up a face rig. If you have any questions, I'll be very happy to answer your questions. So thank you guys for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, guys. Thank you for now. Bye bye. See you later.